Hello and welcome. Think about a choice you make every single day, often several times a day. You stand in front of your refrigerator or you walk down the aisle of a grocery store and you're faced with a wall of options. It's a seemingly simple choice. What will you drink? But in that simple choice lies a profound power over the long-term health of your heart. The confusion is understandable. Labels shout natural, low calorie, zero sugar, and it can feel impossible to know what's truly beneficial and what might be quietly causing harm. And if you've ever felt a sense of frustration or even a little worry about making the right choice for your heart, I want you to know that's a completely normal and valid feeling. You are not alone in this. In this video, we are going to cut through that confusion. We're going to draw upon the clinical experience and research reviewed by one of the nation's top cardiologists, an expert who has spent over 30 years helping patients navigate these very questions. Together, we will clearly identify the 4 worst categories of drinks that this expert strongly advises patients to avoid for their cardiovascular health. But more than that, by the end of our time together, you will understand a single unifying principle, an insight that can make all your future choices about what to drink feel simple, clear, and almost effortless. Let's begin with the first, and by far the most pervasive category of drinks that cardiologists urge their patients to eliminate. These are the sugar-sweetened beverages. This includes regular sodas, so-called fruit drinks or fruit punch, sweetened iced teas, and many of those fancy, flavored specialty coffees. According to leading cardiologists and major health organizations like the American Heart Association, the single largest source of added sugars in the American diet comes not from what we eat, but from what we drink. To make this tangible, consider this. A single 12-ounce can of cola contains a shocking 10 teaspoons of sugar. A cardiologist with 3 decades of experience describes this daily dose as, and I quote, toxic. Imagine drinking nearly a quarter cup of pure corn syrup, because metabolically, that's what your body is processing every time you finish one of those cans. Now, this is where we must deconstruct a very common and deeply ingrained misconception. Many of us were raised to believe that fruit juice is a fundamentally healthy choice. It comes from fruit, after all. But what cardiovascular science now makes clear is that when you strip the fiber away from the fruit, what's left is a highly concentrated dose of sugar that hits our system with a surprising and damaging force. Learning that a lifelong habit, something you may have considered healthy, might not be serving your health can be unsettling, and it's perfectly okay to feel that way. The goal here is not to create guilt, but to provide new information so you can make empowered choices moving forward. The clinical reality of this is something cardiologists see every day. One top specialist often shares an illustrative story of a patient. Let's call him Robert, a man in his late 60s. Robert was diligent. He walked every day. He watched his intake of fried foods, but his blood pressure and his triglycerides, a type of fat in the blood, kept creeping up year after year. During a detailed review of his diet, the hidden culprit was finally revealed. It wasn't the food. He truly believed he was making healthy choices. By simply replacing those 2 drinks with water and unsweetened tea, his numbers, particularly his triglycerides, began to improve significantly within just a few months. Robert's story is not an isolated case. It's a perfect illustration of what large-scale research has confirmed time and again. One major study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association found that people drinking 1 or more sugary beverages a day had a significantly higher incidence of high triglycerides and dangerously low levels of HDL, the good cholesterol that protects your heart. And for anyone who thinks they can simply exercise away the effects of a sugary drink, there is a second layer of evidence to consider. A landmark Harvard study that followed over 100,000 people for 30 years found that consuming just one sugary drink per day was associated with an 18% increased risk of developing cardiovascular disease. And here is the critical part. That risk remained elevated even for people who were physically active and met the recommended guidelines for exercise. You cannot outrun a bad diet, especially when that diet is delivered in liquid form. The reason these drinks are uniquely harmful is because of the form the sugar takes. When you eat an apple, its sugar is bound up in fiber. Your body digests it slowly. But when you drink sugar, it is a liquid flood. It's absorbed almost instantly, causing a dramatic spike in blood sugar and insulin. This sudden shockwave through your system does three damaging things. First, it triggers a state of chronic inflammation, which is known to damage the lining of our arteries. Second, it forces the liver to work overtime, converting that overwhelming amount of sugar into triglycerides, which, as we saw with Robert, are a direct risk factor for heart disease. And third, it contributes to the formation of small, dense LDL particles, the most dangerous type of bad cholesterol that can more easily penetrate the artery walls and build the plaque that leads to atherosclerosis, heart attacks, and strokes. So if sugary drinks are the primary problem, the logical next step for millions of well-meaning people is to switch to their diet or zero-sugar counterparts. For years, this was considered a smart, heart-healthy move, and I want to be very clear. These drinks do remove the direct caloric and sugar load. However, a growing body of evidence, which is particularly concerning for adults over the age of 50, is telling a very different and surprising story. This brings us to the second category of drinks to avoid: artificially sweetened diet beverages. Now, it is essential to present this information responsibly. The studies we are about to discuss show a strong association, a powerful and consistent link. They do not yet prove a direct cause and effect in the same way a randomized clinical trial would, but the association is so consistent across large populations that cardiologists and researchers are taking it very seriously. One of the most significant studies was published in the journal Stroke, a publication of the American Heart Association. It was a massive undertaking, following the health outcomes of over 80,000 postmenopausal women for more than a decade. The findings were startling. Compared to women who drank diet beverages less than once a week or not at all, those who consumed 2 or more diet drinks per day were found to be 23% more likely to have a stroke, 31% more likely to have a clot-caused ischemic stroke, and 29% more likely to develop heart disease. The risk was even more pronounced for certain women in the study. For African American women or obese women who did not have a prior history of heart disease or diabetes, consuming 2 or more diet drinks a day was associated with more than double the risk of a clot-based stroke. First, a variation for beginners. If the idea of giving up your daily diet soda feels like too much all at once, the clinical strategy is to simply cut back slowly. The goal is gradual reduction, not sudden deprivation. If you currently drink 2 a day, make your goal 1 a day for the next 2 weeks. If you drink 1 a day, aim for 1 every other day. This gentle tapering process is far more sustainable and successful than going cold turkey. Second, it's crucial to avoid a common mistake. From a cardiologist's perspective, the most common error is replacing one highly processed artificial product with another. The real long-term goal is to gently retrain your taste buds to appreciate and even prefer less intense sweetness. Switching from a diet cola to a zero-sugar fruit-flavored water that is still loaded with artificial sweeteners and other chemicals is not solving the underlying issue. The correct way is to move towards simple, natural flavors. The ideal swap is plain water or sparkling water. If you crave flavor, add a slice of real lemon, a few crushed raspberries, or a sprig of fresh mint. I understand that this can feel like a catch-22. You try to do the right thing by avoiding sugar, only to learn that the alternative has its own set of concerns. It is easy to feel discouraged. But please hear this. This knowledge is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to empower you. Every single step you take towards simpler, more natural drinks is a victory for your health. While the exact reason for this link is still being investigated, a leading hypothesis among researchers involves a concept we can call metabolic confusion. When your tongue tastes something intensely sweet, your brain and your gut expect calories and sugar to follow. But with artificial sweeteners, they never arrive. Over time, this may disrupt the body's natural feedback loops that regulate hunger and insulin release. It may blunt the body's response to actual sugar when you do eat it. Furthermore, by constantly satisfying the craving for intense sweetness, these drinks may subtly encourage you to seek out other sweet, processed foods, undermining your overall dietary goals. It's a complex picture, but the takeaway is becoming clearer. Moving away from all forms of intense, artificial sweetness is a wise strategy for long-term heart health. This next category is perhaps the most complex, as it's deeply woven into our social rituals and has been the subject of decades of conflicting headlines. We are talking about the third worst drink for your heart: alcohol. The conversation about alcohol must change as we get older. According to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, our bodies simply handle alcohol differently after the age of 60. We tend to have less water in our bodies and a different body composition. This means that the same single drink you had at age 40 can result in a significantly higher blood alcohol concentration at age 70. Our sensitivity increases, and with it, so do the risks. For the heart, cardiologists focus on 4 specific areas of concern for older adults. First is its effect on high blood pressure. Second is the risk of atrial fibrillation or AFib. Third is direct toxicity to the heart muscle. And fourth, and this is a point of utmost importance for this audience, is medication interactions. This cannot be overstated. Alcohol can have dangerous and sometimes life-threatening interactions with the very medications prescribed to protect your heart. It can cause sudden drops in blood pressure when mixed with nitroglycerin for angina. It can interfere with blood pressure medications, and it can amplify the effects of blood thinners like warfarin, creating a serious risk of internal bleeding. But what about red wine? I've always heard that a glass a day is good for my heart. This is a very understandable question. For many years, some observational studies suggested a benefit, and the idea became very popular. The belief was that antioxidants in red wine, like resveratrol, were protective for the heart. However, the most current, comprehensive evidence has led major global health bodies, including the World Health Organization and the Heart Foundation, to definitively change this advice. The scientific consensus now is that no amount of alcohol is considered beneficial for cardiovascular health. The potential harms, specifically the clear links to high blood pressure and atrial fibrillation, far outweigh any theoretical benefit from antioxidants. And it's important to remember, you can get those same antioxidants in abundance from eating grapes, blueberries, strawberries, and other colorful fruits and vegetables, without any of the negative effects of alcohol. Navigating social situations, holidays, dinners with friends, family celebrations can make this particularly challenging. It is easy to feel pressured to have a drink, to be part of the toast. If you find that you've had more than you intended, please do not view it as a failure. View it as a learning experience. The goal is not about achieving perfection overnight. It is about awareness and a gentle, consistent effort to protect the one heart you have. The conversation must shift from the general "is alcohol good or bad" to a more personal calculation of its net effect on your body, with your specific health conditions and your specific medications. Let's take a strategic pause here and connect the dots. We've talked about the direct metabolic damage and inflammation from sugary drinks. We've uncovered the surprising and concerning associations with their diet counterparts. And we have just navigated the very complex and personal realities of alcohol and its effect on the aging heart. It's crucial to see how these are not just three separate items on a list. From a cardiologist's perspective, they can form a system that damages the heart. Think of it this way: the chronic, low-grade inflammation caused by a diet high in liquid sugar can create a vulnerable, irritated environment inside your arteries. The potential metabolic disruption from diet drinks can add to this systemic stress. Then, introducing a known electrical trigger like alcohol into that already inflamed system can be the very spark that ignites an arrhythmia like atrial fibrillation. They can work together, and their combined effect is often greater than the sum of their individual parts. You have been absorbing a great deal of detailed, nuanced information, and I want to commend you for your focus and your commitment to your health. Simply by staying with us this far, you are taking a powerful step toward taking control. But as damaging as these three categories can be over time, there's one final category of beverage that cardiologists are increasingly concerned about. It's a drink that can create what experts call a perfect storm of cardiac stress, not over years or decades, but in a matter of hours. Understanding this fourth and final category is absolutely essential, and it will lead us directly to that unifying principle I promised at the very beginning. The key that will make protecting your heart from all of these threats feel natural and straightforward. We now arrive at the fourth and final category of drinks to avoid for your heart health. These are energy drinks. While these products are often marketed aggressively toward younger generations, their use is rising across all age groups. And for older adults, especially those with any underlying heart condition, whether it's diagnosed or not, the risks can be particularly acute. To understand the danger, we must look at the underlying mechanism. From a cardiologist's viewpoint, the primary threat of an energy drink is not just its caffeine content alone. It is the unregulated, high-dose combination of ingredients. It is, in essence, a perfect storm in a can, a massive jolt of caffeine, often far exceeding that of a standard cup of coffee, mixed with other potent stimulants like guarana, which is itself another source of caffeine, and then frequently loaded with as much sugar as a can of soda. Let's break down the science of what this chemical cocktail does to your heart. First, it triggers an immediate and massive surge in your sympathetic nervous system, your body's fight or flight response. This is not a gentle lift, it is a physiological alarm. The result is a rapid and sometimes dangerous spike in both your heart rate and your blood pressure. For a heart that may already be working harder due to age or high blood pressure, this sudden demand can be incredibly stressful. Second, and this is a critical scientific point, controlled studies have shown that these drinks can significantly prolong something on an electrocardiogram called the QTC interval. To put that simply, The QTC interval is the time it takes for your heart's electrical system to reset and recharge between beats. When that recharging time is abnormally prolonged, it dramatically increases the risk for chaotic, life-threatening heart rhythms, which can lead to sudden cardiac arrest. This brings us to the concept of the vulnerable heart. Many people may have underlying cardiovascular issues they are not even aware of, a genetic predisposition to arrhythmia, or the beginnings of coronary artery disease. For these individuals, the sudden electrical and chemical stress from an energy drink can be catastrophic. This is why a leading genetic cardiologist at the Mayo Clinic, who specializes in these conditions, states unequivocally that for his patients, and I quote, "The appropriate dose of a highly caffeinated energy drink is 0. It's not worth the relative risk exposure when there's no upside to be gained from the product." The fundamental danger here is that these drinks are sold and consumed like casual refreshments, but they contain a potent, unregulated cocktail of stimulants. They are classified as dietary supplements, not medications, meaning they do not undergo the rigorous safety testing required for pharmaceuticals. Consuming an energy drink is not like having a cup of coffee. It is like taking an unprescribed, high-dose stimulant with unknown synergistic effects, an unacceptable risk for anyone concerned with their heart health. The primary goal here is complete avoidance. But if you or someone you care about has been using these drinks, what is the first benefit you might notice when you stop? It is often a sense of calm. You might find that feelings of anxiety, restlessness, or heart palpitations that you may have dismissed as just stress begin to fade away. Your sleep quality may improve dramatically, and paradoxically, your true energy levels will likely become more stable and sustained throughout the day, free from the artificial highs and the inevitable, draining crashes that these drinks produce. We have now identified the 4 worst categories of drinks for your heart. The sugary drinks that fuel inflammation and metabolic disease, the diet drinks with their surprising and concerning links to cardiovascular events, the complex and personal risks of alcohol, especially as we age, and the acute, immediate danger posed by energy drinks. At the beginning of our time together, I promised you more than just a list of things to avoid. I promised you a single, unifying principle that would make navigating all of this much simpler. Here it is, the single most powerful principle for heart-healthy drinking, according to the cardiologists who see the most profound and lasting results in their patients, is this: shift your focus from reactive avoidance to proactive nourishment. Please, take a moment to consider what this truly means. A mindset of reactive avoidance is a life filled with don'ts. Don't drink that soda. Don't have that juice. Don't touch that energy drink. It is a constant battle of restriction, willpower, and deprivation. It is exhausting, and frankly, it's a mindset that is very difficult to sustain for a lifetime. A mindset of proactive nourishment is completely different. It is not built on a list of don'ts. It is built on a single powerful do. Actively choose to give your body simple, whole, life-sustaining hydration. When you wake up in the morning and your primary conscious goal is to nourish your body, you will automatically reach for a glass of water. When you feel thirsty in the afternoon, you will naturally think of a cup of unsweetened herbal tea. You will instinctively avoid the chemical-laden, sugar-filled concoctions on the store shelves, not because they're on a forbidden list, but because they simply do not align with your positive, life-affirming mission. This one simple shift in your thinking transforms the entire process. It is no longer a chore of deprivation. It becomes an act of self-care. It becomes an act of self-respect. The worst drinks are no longer temptations to be fought and resisted. So how do we put this principle into practice starting today? A cardiologist would summarize it into a clear, clinical action plan. First, clear the pantry. Make a conscious, one-time decision to remove the sugar-sweetened beverages and diet drinks from your home. The single easiest way to avoid temptation is to remove it from your immediate environment. Make the healthy choice the easy choice. Second, consult your doctor about alcohol. This is not generic advice. Schedule a specific conversation with your physician or cardiologist. Be honest about your current alcohol intake and review your health conditions and your full list of medications. Together, you can create a plan that is safe and appropriate for you. Third, make water your default. This is the cornerstone of proactive nourishment. Get a reusable water bottle and keep it with you. Keep a pitcher of cold filtered water in your refrigerator so it's always appealing and ready. When you feel thirsty, let your first thought always be water. And fourth, adopt the nourishment mindset. Each day, ask yourself one simple question. What is the most nourishing thing I can drink for my body right now? Let that question, not a list of rules, be your guide. As you begin this journey, I want you to remember the most important clinical advice of all. Be kind to yourself. Progress is not about perfection. It is about gentle, consistent effort. There will be days that are easier than others. There will be holidays, birthdays, and celebrations. That is a beautiful part of a full life. The goal is not to be perfect, but to be mindful. You are learning, you are growing, and you are taking powerful steps to honor your health. Please know that you are not alone in this, and every single small, positive choice you make is a profound victory. Thank you for investing your time and your attention with us today. It is a privilege to share this vital, evidence-based information with you. We learn so much from each other's journeys and experiences. So, I would like to ask you, what is one simple, healthy drink swap you have made that has helped you feel better? It could be switching from soda to sparkling water, or discovering an herbal tea that you love. Please, share your story in the comments below. Your experience could be the exact piece of inspiration that someone else needs to see today. Continue to be your own best health advocate. Stay curious, stay informed, and be well. If you found this information valuable, please consider liking this video and sharing it with someone you care about. And subscribe to the channel for more evidence-based guidance to support your health journey.